Welcome once again. This is the second of our top 20 memories as we look back on, this is our 10th season together. It's Portland this weekend. And so I thought in a rather tenuous roundabout way, we'd look at the designated players. Tim Howard made his debut for the Rapids 4th of July 2016, but there was somebody before, there were a few DPs before him. Gabby Torres, Panama striker.
Yep.
And he was the first. He had a really good Gold Cup. I think he was joint top scorer with 5 goals. And he's since gone on to become a bit of a journeyman. Your thoughts on his time at the Rapids?
Listen, he came in and did well the first few games, and then I think it was one of those deals where I just don't know if he got enough service, if the style he played fit our style. I think it's very odd that you watch one player play 4 or 5 games in a CONCACAF Championship Gold Cup tournament, and then you bring him in like boom, like that, and expect him to do the same thing he did there for the national team. So I thought he was a good player. I liked him as a person. I think he worked hard. I just didn't see DP title on him.
Yeah, and I think there's a book, I think it's Soccernomics, where it actually says this is the worst mistake that soccer clubs have made worldwide is that they go on a major tournament. So they'll go on the behavior or the actions of a player over, as you say, 3, 4, 5 games. You could get a couple of penalties in those games. You could play a few weaker opposition in those international tournaments, as opposed to mapping their trends over a 1, 2, 3 year period. And maybe that was the mistake that the Rapids made, is that they saw this guy did very well at Gold Cup, and they were expecting the same across a consistent 34.
I think that's old school. I think that's when I played. When a guy had a good World Cup, people were bidding for him and trying to get him. I think modern scouting has kind of maybe put a little sparkle in your eye if you see him playing a World Cup, and then you would follow him back to his club team. And nowadays they'll monitor, they'll watch what he does at a club level on a consistent basis, not just the biggest tournament in the world. Because how many players have had great World Cups and then we never hear from them again? So I think that was old school. I think modern soccer now is the scouting of international, but also domestic football.
So his stats were 55 appearances, 35 starts, 10 goals, 5 assists. Final appearance was September 2015. Arriving August 2013. And then we move on.
Yeah, but it wasn't a lot of money, was it back then? Was it a lot of money?
No, I don't believe it was.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. So,
and there was an overlap with Kevin Doyle. Kevin Doyle came in 2015 to 2017. His numbers just off the top: 71 appearances, 63 starts, 16 goals, 8 assists. Lovely fella, Kevin. Even he will admit that wasn't the return he was hoping for, bearing in mind the record that he arrived with.
When you hear that name, Kevin Doyle, you got excited, you know what I mean, of what he did. And then it came here and it just didn't, good player. He gave everything. He ran, he fought, but it seemed like he just had a battle with that goal. It just couldn't put it in the back of the net. But when he did score, there were spectacular goals. But again, $1 million, I believe it was. And like I said, nice guy. It was great having him, but definitely not. Unfortunately, the value was too high for what he produced.
And I think, and I'm trying to look at the highlight. There was a goal, a winning goal. Jared Watts, headed clearance maybe, downfield at Seattle. Late on, Doyle scored, and I think that was the first win in Seattle for the Rapids. So I'm looking at other highlights. There have been
We're looking at value. We're looking at $1 million for 3 years.
It was 2015, 16, 17, retired up.
So three years, $1 million, $3 million for 16 goals. That's the way you got to look at it, unfortunately.
Then we move on to Shkelzen Gashi. And when you talk Gashi, and again, there was the overlap, Doyle, Gashi, and then obviously Tim Howard was there as well. When you talk about Gashi, we've got to talk about that goal of the season, 2016. And then the goal against LA in the playoffs. When he scored spectacular. I think he scored.
That was 2016. He killed it in 2016.
2016. And then he kind of faded. I think, his off season was maybe a little bit more enjoyable, shall we say,
Yachting, let's say, yachting.
than maybe it should have been. And he kind of faded. But when he was on his game, I mean, he just looked so comfortable on the ball.
Yeah.
He just looked in command, and the way that he could strike her was phenomenal.
Well, I think when he came in, I think he surprised us all because we didn't know what to expect. And then the way he played set such high expectations for the next year. And it was unfortunate because he came back. I think he was injured. He got injured. He came back into preseason a little heavy. They couldn't get him 100% fit. A little bit of the extra weight was hurt. I believe it was his knee. I think it was, right? It was a knee problem. So it was unfortunate because after that first year, we never saw the same Gashi that we saw in 2016. If we would have had that Gashi, I think it would have been an interesting 2017 and 18.
And a great character. I mean, just a great individual. And I remember he used to travel across to training on a little scooter. It looked like the scooter off, a little moped.
Yeah.
And it looked like the moped off Dumb and Dumber. You know, the guys going up the hill, frozen to the back. But he was, a fabulous character, fabulous guy to have around. And his stats, so looking at his numbers, 64 appearances, 46 starts, 13 goals, 7 assists, MLS goal of the year. And as we mentioned, that playoff goal as well against the Galaxy. And that, again, there was that overlap with Doyle, 2016, 2017, Gashi, and Tim Howard. So at one point, the Raptors had 3 DPs. Tim Howard arrived 4th of July, goalless draw against the Timbers at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. 100 appearances, 23 shutouts, which is currently equal with William Yarbrough. His highlight is undoubtedly the penalty shootout for LA Galaxy. And he arrived big money, big name, few raised eyebrows at the time that you're spending that much on a goalkeeper. But certainly there were moments where you think he's still got it. But that LA playoff game was pretty much the highlight, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think when you look at that, the big splash they made with Tim Howard coming from Everton, everybody in MLS was excited. I think a lot of people were shocked at the money that Colorado was willing to pay for a goalkeeper, especially in that time when all they kept on talking about is a playmaker, a 9. That's what we're looking for. And then over $3 million.
Difference maker, wasn't it? Difference maker.
A difference maker. So, every coach has to do and front office has to do what they feel is right. And again, it was difficult because there were games where he played so well, and there were other games you could just see, that Father Time is no friend of anybody's. So you could tell it affected me when I played towards the end of my career. It affects a lot of players. So, but I agree. The highlight was that penalty save to get us into the Western Conference Final.
And then we look at the 2 most recent, Yunus Namli, which there was that initial loan spell from the Russian club, not helped by 2020 and the lockdown and the stop-start. But again, similar to Gashi, looked wonderful on the ball in glimpses. We just didn't get to see the best. And maybe it was. Maybe that COVID year of 2020 was just so disruptive for everybody, particularly, or especially, should I say, those that had just come into the league.
He wasn't healthy. We all knew it. We knew it down the road when he had the ankle surgery and it took him a long time to come back. He was playing. Listen, when he came on, I haven't seen anybody that smooth, that just finessed the way he dribbled through players with such ease, got onto his left foot. So, excited. I was excited to see him play. But when you start watching him, you started hearing, his ankle and it's this and it's that. So it's unfortunate because if he would have been healthy and take away that pandemic that slowed everything down and put everybody on lockdown, I think he could have been successful in this league.
And again, we'll just throw his numbers out there. 28 appearances, 2020 and 2021, 22 starts, 3 goals, 5 assists. So again, and Gyasi Zardes is the most recent, 7 appearances, 6 starts, 1 goal, 1 assist. So it's still very much early days for Gyasi. But when we look at that DP, and we have those 2 letters, DP, designated player, it is a bit of a stick with which to beat a front office, a club, an ownership, because if it works, it's like, it should work. We're spending all this money, and if they fall short of our expectations, it's deemed a failure. I mean that kind of deep. Would you like to see a way that wording disappear?
Well, let me ask you this: who is your most successful DP that showed up in Colorado? Who had the best and probably should have been a DP out of all the DPs?
I mean, we saw.
That's my point. A DP
glimpses.
is difficult, but it's difficult. You take a chance, big money, and you hope he adapts to the league quickly. You will hope he's a difference maker. And I don't think we've had that DP yet. Now, Jazzy's Artist is new, and you've got to give him time. Yeah. But we gave Nomley time. We gave Gashi time. Gashi had a great year. Doyle was the same way. Tim Howard. But at the end of the day, you can't say to yourself, wow, there's been one DP player that really sticks out in my mind yet. I think it could be Jazzy. It could be, but again, he's getting used to a new system, a new style, and we'll see at the end of the year where he's at with his numbers.
Do we put too much pressure when we see that DP? We instantly think difference maker, going to make a difference, got to be consistent. And when you're kind of damned if you don't, damned
you
if
keep going. All you want to know, we don't put that much pressure on them. That's their job. If you're coming into this league and you're going to make over $1 million, $1.1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, your job is to be a difference maker. That's what they're paying you for. Welcome to the pressure. That's what we've always wanted here. We don't want a DP with no pressure. We want a DP with pressure. You have to score goals. That is your job. You bring in a goalkeeper. Your job is to win us game and save games. Midfielder, your job is to create and to give us assists and score goals. That's the pressure they have to have. Welcome to soccer. Welcome to football. Whatever you want to go with, that's the pressure they have on them. And they have to either learn to live with it or they move on and find somebody else.
There we have just a few of our memories of the designated players as it comes on the eve of the game at Portland Timbers, and Tim Howard making his debut against the Timbers back in 2016. Next week, it'll be episode 3 of our top 20 memories, and we will look at our memories of 4th of July. Until then, bye for now.